everyone, it's Jessica here from Fox's Knits, and today I will be sharing with you a recently finished object, and it's an exciting one because I designed this myself. So thank you for joining me today from wherever you are in the world. As always, I am coming to you from Mangawhai in northern New Zealand where I live, and Mangawhai, if you didn't know, is a beautiful little seaside town. And I live here and work here and exist here with my beautiful teenage daughter, my partner, and our rescue pets, Jasper the dog and Primrose the black cat. And of course, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you are new here. It's always lovely to have you along, and I know lots of you watch my channel while you're actually knitting your own projects, which is super, super cool. So as usual, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Fox's Blog to keep up to date with what I'm creating in life in general. Also, if you would like to support me in creating more content for the channel, you may like to consider shouting a figurative coffee via Ko-fi, and all donations there go towards supporting this channel so that I can bring you even more knitted goodness content. Or you may even like to just snap up a purchase in my online store, which is foxesknits.com. You can find links to my Knitting Notions boutique and Ko-fi and any of the show notes or links to what I've mentioned within this episode, such as patterns or products, yarns and things like that, in the description below, so make sure that you check those out at the end of this video. So the pattern for this, as I mentioned, was one that I made myself, and I'm not sure if it's a proper pattern or if it's more of an inspirational piece with some written instructions kind of knit, but we'll call it a pattern and we'll just leave it there. So the inspiration behind this piece that I'm actually wearing, and I'll show you some more of it in a moment, is that I wanted to make something out of a beautiful skein that I had bought with the intention of making something for my mum, Nancy. And as soon as I saw this yarn, I knew that it would be the perfect colours for my mum. And being able to make something out of a single skein is always helpful. If you're anything like me, you'll often pick up something beautiful and maybe it's been hand dyed, you're not sure what you're going to do with it, so you only grab one. Well, this is how I came about this skein, and I wanted to make something. So anyway, a little background about why I wanted to make something for my mum. So my mum, Nancy, she lives down in Auckland, which it's only about an hour away, and well, an hour and a little bit. So but with the various lockdowns that we've been having during COVID and this kind of time, she's actually been on her own for a lot longer periods of time. This has actually been especially hard as 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago now, my stepdad passed away suddenly. He had a heart attack in the middle of the night, and it was completely out of the blue. So my mum and my stepdad had been married for I think around 18 years, but they'd been together for 22 years, so from when I was quite young, and it really was really unexpected, and even though it was nearly 2 years ago, it really doesn't feel like it has been that long. Understandably, this has been an incredibly hard time on my mum, and add to that the increased time of her being on her own. It has been pretty tough. Not being able to see her on a regular basis has not been great for anyone. And we do keep in touch and we chat most days. And since we've been able to travel regionally, she has come up to stay for some visits, which has been super nice. Anyway, I wanted to make her something that she could snuggle up with, that she could take and wrap up with and have to keep her cozy for her beach walks, that was soft and it felt like a hug when she needed one from me if I wasn't there. And I had been looking for ages to find the perfect pattern, just using one skein of yarn, but nothing too fancy. What's the word I'm looking for? Nothing that was too intricate or open. So finding the perfect pattern and using one skein of yarn, given I just had the one, but yeah, I couldn't really find anything for the life of me, and I couldn't find anything that I really, really liked, so it was just so up and away for me. So I designed my own, and yeah. So the pattern itself, I'll take this off. It's very warm in here. So the pattern itself is a semi-crescent shaped triangle that is actually worn with this bottom tassel up the top. I'll actually show you how I had it on just before. Oh. There we go. I intended to have it up that way, so that's how I thought it would look the best. But I wanted to show that you could wear it pretty much anyway, but I really like how this would potentially look from the back. There. My mum has really, really short hair, so the back of this would be seen as she wears it. So, I'll keep that there. Look at that. I'll pop in some more footage so that you can see it a little bit closer up in a minute. But let's just chat about the yarn for a moment. So the main yarn that I used for this was a colour from Yeah Yeah Yarn. She is a Dunedin-based designer. Dyer, sorry, rather. Well, she is a dye designer. I like to think of them as dye designers. So, yeah, so she's based in Dunedin, and she is crazy, crazy talented, and I love her to bits, and I think she's amazing. So this colour is called Inferno, that you can see there. And I only have a little bit of this left, so I'll pop in a snippet if I can find one of when this was still a full skein, just because it looked so beautiful. And I actually have a few stories on my Instagram of when I caked this up as well, because it really just looked gorgeous. So this is a 100% superwash merino 4-ply yarn. It is super, super soft and incredibly fine, and the colours have got lots of oranges, corals, little pinks, gaps of white, pops of blue and turquoise, a little bit of yellow. It really is like a beautiful inferno, but with all these cool kind of colours. And yeah, I would have loved to have a little bit more turquoise in this, but I think that it is actually beautifully balanced. And like I said, I almost used a full skein for this piece, and this is what I've got left. I probably could have used it all, but I really wanted to have enough to make the tassels, and I didn't want them to be too stingy. So I've also used some of my leftover fluffs that I have. So here I have used Fibre Spates by Cumulus, and this is the colourway Purl, and this is the colourway Water. I love this colour, and I actually think I used a really teeny amount of blush. I literally had like 2.5 meters, but I just wanted to use it up, so we'll pretend it's not in there. So Cumulus is a baby suri alpaca blend that is 75% alpaca and 25% silk. It has a beautiful silk core that I think that you can see there quite well with the blue. It's really, really lovely, and I have got stacks and stacks of this yarn to hand that I have personally invested in, just because it is so soft and perfect for wearing against your skin. Yeah, so baby suri alpaca, just FYI if you didn't know, is not baby alpacas. It is the yarn or the fleece from the alpaca that is the closest to their skin, that is the softest and snuggliest. And no baby alpacas were harmed in making any baby suri alpaca yarns. Because I looked that up when I first found that baby suri on a label, and I was horrified. Anyway, so this pattern is fully reversible, which was really important for me to create something that could be worn easily. And I also prefer the look of the speckled yarn knitted up in Stockinette, as I feel you can really see and appreciate the colours a bit more. I'll show you a little bit of that. So there you go. I really love that you can see all of that. It gets a little bit lost in the garter stitch, I think. But you can definitely see a lot of that there. And then that's from the other side with the same piece that you can see there. So yeah. So the idea of the shawl is that once you've cast it on and established a pattern of your increases, and you kind of know what you're doing, you can sort of switch as you go, randomizing the lengths of the purl and the smooth sides rather. Oh, I've got an itchy nose now. So to create a unique texture that moves basically just as you fancy, if you don't feel like knitting a knit row, you can chuck in a few purls and then back to the knits, and the interest is in making each section slightly different. It is a relaxing knit that is interesting, and the finished object is also interesting, but you can make it in a mindless kind of way. So I'll just show you a little bit of that you can see there. You can see my sections are not uniform at all. And I'll show you some more of this a bit further back, but I just wanted to get a point to get across the different sized areas. So here I've included one row of a garter to break up this area of stockinette that's just here after a garter row, And I've done the same on this other side as well. There's one there. Anyway. So I chose the Purl and watercolours to blend in and mix in a random way as well. This gives the shawl enough softness and snuggle factor without having to have the entire thing knitted double. It also used the alpaca to play up certain tones of colours as I went, softening some of the corals in places and with the Purl colour, and really amping up the blue tones with the addition of the water shade, I should say. So here there is more in there. Anyway, you can see here that half of the section, I'll show you just a bit closer here. I don't know if you can see that. So half of this section here is stockinette and garter, and that has been done with the blue kind of going across both of those. And then I've done it again with a few of the other sections, and then some of the sections have only got the alpaca fluff in there. So each time I added a new fluff and held it double, I actually knitted in the end as I went, because you can hide it and it's not going to be seen at all in there. And it actually meant that there was just one end to weave in at the very, very end. Man, try saying that 12 times. So there was one end to weave in at the end, and it was fan-fucking-tastic, if I do say so myself. Sorry to offend you then. Yeah, I hate weaving in ends. And because I love to have tassels on corners, I put 3 onto this finished piece. So there's 1 here and 2 on each end, which is just gorgeous. So technical aspects of this. This was knitted on a 3.75mm circular needle, and I think I used an 80cm cable as it grew, just to make things a little bit easier to hold. The 3.75 size needle enabled it to be a nice enough drape for the single held yarn, but also being okay when you changed to double, it didn't feel too chunky. So the stitches that I have used in this are really, really super basic, and they are just a regular long tail cast on, or you can do whatever kind of cast on you want. There are knit and purl stitches, and the increases are worked as a double knit. So you knit through the front, knit through the back on either a purl or a knit, depending on what row you're on, and a slip stitch for the very first stitch on each row to ensure that you have a really tidy edge. Let's see if I can show you there. You can see that edge there. Just keeps things really, really nice. The cast off is nothing fancy. I just chose to cast off really, really loosely in a very standard way, and you could either do a stretchy cast off if you like, or you could use a larger needle if you're worried about doing it and you're not sure about your tension. So yeah, so this did look like a saggy mess when I first finished it, as most shawls do. So for this I did a, I'll just put it here, there we go. So for this I did do a full wet block, and I pinned it out into shape in the sun. And I also wet blocked the tassels before I added them to ensure that they were nice and straight and would look really good. So yeah, this is a lovely, lovely easy knit, and could easily be made by a beginner that is looking to maybe learn a new stitch, such as the knit front and back increases. There are a squillion YouTube videos on that already. But yeah, it's nice because you've got knits and purls, you've cast on, there's no rules. And I love that it uses just one skein of a feature yarn and just a little bit of fluff. That could even be something that you have left over that you've picked up from a charity shop as a leftover from someone else, or you might have it already in your stash. So yeah, so I've just finished the pattern now, the download for this, and it will be available for you in my Ravelry. Plus there is a download available on my website if Ravelry is not your jam, and all of that will be linked below. So yeah, so yay, I made a thing. If you feel that you might fancy making your own too, and I'm sure that there are people that you'd love to send a knitted hug to as well at some stage, do let me know if you're planning on making your own, and if you do, I really would love to see it. Hopefully the pattern isn't a total mess and that you can actually follow it. Let me know if you can't though, because my god, yeah, that would be so bad. Anyway, as always, I will be sharing my finished object videos just like this one as I finish them. And if you didn't know already, I do a bigger chatty video podcast once a month. And between times I share videos like these, plus knitting know-how and other goodies, so be sure to check out the rest of my channel if you have enjoyed this episode. And of course, if you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure that you give it a like, as it all really goes towards helping grow my channel so that even more people can find out about me and what I'm doing and sharing it with everyone. So thanks for being with me here again today, and I'll see you again soon for the next episode of Fox's Knits. Happy knitting.